Good morning. The meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. The meeting is being held at the office of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North Third Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. The time is 10 a.m.
Chairman Roussel,
Here?
Commissioner Leone,
Here.
Commissioner Romick,
Here.
Commissioner Guidry, Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
5 present and a quorum.
Thank you. Since we have no business, we will move to item 4 on the agenda, consideration of nominations for vice chairman on a quarterly rotation. Mr. Hoffman?
Good morning, commission members. Historically, the commission has always had a vice chairman to step in and serve in the role of chairman if Chairman Roussel is unavailable for whatever reason. Chairman Roussel has proposed that we fix a rotation on a quarterly basis whereby one of the 4 of the other commission members will serve in the capacity of vice chairman for a 3-month period beginning in July, and proposed simply doing it alphabetically. So Commissioner Frazier, then Guidry, then Leone, and then Romig. Commissioner Frazier's tenure as vice chairman would begin in July and run July, August, and September, at which point Commissioner Guidry's tenure as vice chairman would start. And we would do that on a quarterly 3-month basis, basically into perpetuity until y'all decide to do something different. So happy to answer any questions about that. Otherwise, simply need a motion to adopt this proposal for Commissioner Frazier's term to begin in July.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Going to the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted. Consideration of change orders.
Chandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have a total of 235 change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 225, place 9 in pending status, and deny 1. Staff requests approval of these change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve 225 change orders and place 9 in pending and deny 1 for reasons given by staff.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Chandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have a total of 23 prior pending change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve all 23. Staff requests approval of the prior pending change orders.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve all 23 prior pending change orders as reviewed and approved by staff.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted. We have any sales tax cancellations?
Chandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have 1 tax sale cancellation in Orleans Parish due to being erroneously assessed. Staff requests approval of 1 tax sale cancellation in Orleans Parish.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the 1 tax sale cancellation.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted. We'll move on to the appeals. Mr. Hoffman, you can swear the.
Good morning. If you'll be testifying in any of the appeals today, I'll have you stand up. I'm going to administer an oath to all of you at the same time. I'll indicate to you individually to affirm the oaths and to state I do, and I'll ask you to state your name for the record. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Gregory Miller, I do. Thank you.
Russell Almers, I do.
David Bahia, I do. Carl Chatelain, I do.
Oscar Boyd, I do. Ronald McAleer, I do.
Thank you. Y'all may have a seat. Appraisers, going to administer an oath to you. If you'll turn your video cameras on and unmute. All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Nicole?
I do.
Luke?
I do.
Sandy?
I do.
Josh?
I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead and get started.
The first appeal we'll take up today is the appeal of Oscar M. Gwynn versus Assessor Errol G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-76244.
Excuse me,
Yeah, good
Mr.
morning.
Chair,
Go ahead.
prior to the taxpayer starting, I'd like to recuse myself from this case.
Please let the record show that Mr. Romick has recused himself from this item. Taxpayer, you can go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Oscar M. Gwynn IV. My wife Dorothy and I own 5318 Pitt Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70115, which is the subject of our tax appeal. It's our primary dwelling. It's our only home. We've owned it since the summer of 2010. We live there with our two young children. We live in the uptown area of New Orleans. We purchased this home in 2010. When we bought it, it was in poor to fair condition. Unfortunately, over the years, we've never really been in a position to improve it substantially, and it remains largely in the same condition that it was in 2010 when we bought it. It is a wood frame structure. Historically, it was not originally a house. It was a administrative building for Gilbert Academy, which was on St. Charles Avenue, which no longer exists. The home is well over 100 years old, and over the years, it's been enlarged slightly. But like I said, originally it was an academic building. We live directly across the street from De La Salle High School, and I guess to describe our home, I would say it's in fair condition at best. We have dated electrical panels that date back to the 1960s. I know the history of the home because it used to belong to my mother-in-law. And so I know for a fact that the electrical paneling dates back to the 1960s. The kitchen is a 1962 galley kitchen. It's a small, narrow kitchen. We have window units. We do not have any kind of built-out outdoor living space like an outdoor kitchen or a pool. We have dated bathrooms, which largely date back to the 1960s as well. And again, we know the history of the house, so we can confirm all of that. This is not a modern house. This is not a house that's in good or excellent condition. This is a house that needs substantial work. One day we plan to do the work, but right now we're just not in a position to do it, unfortunately. We feel that our home is grossly overassessed for a lot of reasons. A major reason is that, like I said, the house is in fair to poor condition. Another reason is that the homes that are directly adjacent to our homes are appraised for far less than our home. And these homes are substantially better and in some cases substantially larger than our homes. For instance, directly across our back fence, the property located at 5321 Britannia Street, which is on our block, it's the exact same lot size. That home was, within the last 5 years, raised off the ground, and an extra floor was added to it. It's substantially larger than our house. It has a swimming pool in the back, and it is assessed for $578,000. Yet our home, which is on the exact same lot, on the exact same block, is assessed for almost $900,000. Likewise, another house that is directly adjacent to our house, this one is located at 1424 Valmont Street, is assessed for $608,000. Again, that is far less than our house, which is assessed for $900,000. We know these neighbors. We know what their houses are like. These houses are in far better shape than ours. They've been renovated and modernized far more recently. They're in much better condition, and it's simply not fair for our house to be assessed hundreds of thousands of dollars more than these two houses. The appraisals that have been performed by Orleans Parish and the Tax Commission are effectively drive-by appraisals. The appraisers never came into our homes. They don't know the condition of our home. They've never seen our kitchen. They've never seen our bathroom. They've never seen our yard. We have a locked perimeter fence. We were always willing to let any appraiser onto our property to inspect it if they wanted to. We were never asked to do that. It's not clear to me exactly when the appraisers would have come by or how they performed their appraisals other than taking photographs from the street, which is the only way they could have possibly performed these appraisals. Because again, we have a locked perimeter fence all the way around our home. In terms of the condition of our street, it's in deplorable condition. We have a dangerous sinkhole about 20 feet from our house. I've been trying to get the city of New Orleans to fix it for almost a year now. I've seen these sinkholes in other parts of Pitt Street, and when they don't get fixed, what happens is the entire street caves in. That happened about 5 blocks down from me a few years ago by Langenstein's Grocery. And this is a life safety issue. My wife parks her car by this sinkhole. My children get in and out of their car by this sinkhole. Eventually, the sinkhole will collapse. And again, I've tried to do everything that I can to get the city to fix it, but they will not fix it, or they have not yet. So we don't think that it was proper for our land value to be increased. We think that our land value should remain the same as it was in 2023, $186,000. And we don't think it was fair for our dwelling or our building or our improvement to be increased to what it is now. We think that with respect to the home directly across the fence from us at 5321 Britannia, that building is assessed, the dwelling itself or the improvement is assessed at $299,000. There is no way that our house is worth substantially more than that. So our house should not be assessed for any, the improvement should not be assessed for any more than $299,000 out of basic fairness. We submit that the land should remain the same at $186,000. And we submit that an appropriate appraisal for our entire property based on those two numbers is a sum total of $485,000. I have submitted exhibits with my appeal, which contain photographs of my home, the interior of my home. I've submitted photographs of the two neighbors' houses that I've talked about, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you. City of New Orleans.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes. The assessor's office, I'm sorry, let me pull this down so you guys can hear me. The assessor's office initially valued the property at $899,800. It was affirmed by the Board of Review. The tax commission's appraisal came in at $900,000, slightly higher. We performed a fee simple appraisal of the property. We requested in our prayer that the tax commission affirm the Board of Review's evaluation. We feel that this property is, our valuation is justified, considering that our initial CAM evaluation, our fee simple appraisal that was performed, and the tax commission staff appraisal are all in the same ballpark of valuation. Just to speak on a couple of things that the taxpayer provided, this property is a 2,984 square foot property on a 6,200 square foot lot, about 1 block off of St. Charles on the riverside, which is a very desirous area of the city to live in. The property owner stated that he feels that his land should be reduced. We don't feel that that would be justifiable because all the land in the area is at a same rate. That would create an inequity between the neighbors who are valued at the same rate as the taxpayer. Taking a look at the information that was provided by the taxpayer and in his oral testimony, we don't feel that the properties cited by the taxpayer are accurate representations of what his property should be. 5321 Britannia Street is 2,140 square feet. It's 844 square feet less than the subject property, but it's also a double. It's not a single. Singles command a higher value than doubles. So it's not able to be used as a comparable. 1424 Valmont Street is 2,180 square feet. It also has 3,444 square feet of land. It's half the size of the lot, and it's 800 square foot less. We don't think that that is also comparable. Even though they are valued at $608,000, they're valued less because they're smaller lots. It doesn't affect the value overall, but 5321 square, 5321 Britannia also has an age freeze on the subject, on the property itself. We feel that the tax commission, in light of these situations, should affirm the Board of Review's value as it is also represented by the commission staff appraisal.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from Josh, Tax Commission Appraiser.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Joshua Laverne, LTC appraiser. I inspected and appraised the property at 5318 Pitt Street. The sales comparison was the only applicable approach to my analysis. That approach produced a value of $900,000, $279,000 attributed to the land, and $621,000 attributed to the improvement.
Thank you. Questions from the commission?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Russell, maybe you can help me with this one.
Yes,
Is there a reason why you all didn't enter the taxpayer's property, or were you guys given permission? Because I noticed in his statement, he said no one actually came inside to look at his property. Is there a reason why?
Yes, we're like vampires. We can't come in without an invitation, so we have to, the taxpayer has to invite us into their property. We cannot go in. Normally, if there is a situation where there's a square footage or a condition issue, then we contact the taxpayer, or it's brought up during the open roll period or the board review period. They say, look, I have a square footage error or a condition issue. Can you come take a look at it? We set up an appointment to do that. That was not done in this case. We were not given permission. To be fair to the taxpayer, we didn't necessarily request it because we didn't realize that he had a condition argument. So that's kind of why that was not done. But we cannot go into any property without express invitation by the property owner.
Mr. Taxpayer, was there a reason why that the assessor could not enter into your property?
Not at all. They were welcome to enter the property. There was always a condition issue on this appeal. Exhibit A to my appeal, my original appeal to Orleans Parish, it's a multiple page letter with a bunch of photos. I clearly made the argument that our house is in fair to poor condition. And you don't even have to necessarily enter the property to see that. You can see that it has peeling paint and window units and weatherboards that are cracked and failing. We have an unfinished side yard, but certainly, if they wanted to challenge my representations of the condition of my property, they were more than welcome to enter my property and do a full inspection. And the comparable properties that were used in these appraisals, these houses, I looked them up on the internet. I looked up their real estate listings. These houses have modern kitchens. They have swimming pools. These houses aren't even comparable to mine. But again, I would have happily allowed them to inspect my property if they wanted to challenge the condition argument that I made.
If I may just add something, normally it's the assessor's office policy that when condition arguments are made, we also ask the taxpayers to provide estimates for renovation or estimates for repair of the property. Normally those are more concrete than guesstimates of how much it would cost or what kind of condition it is, and that was not provided in the documentation.
Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Any other questions from the commission members? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make a motion just seeing how we have a kind of issue on the condition. I'm just gonna base my value kind of off the average of the comparables that are around Mr. Gwynn there. So my total is I'm looking at 805,000 as a total value. That's 279,000 for the land, 526,000 for the improvement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You too.
The next appeal we have on the docket is the appeal of Gale 2619 through 21 LLC versus Assessor Errol G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-74097.
Thank you.
Morning.
Okay, I would like to start off with a little 20 seconds of prep on this. I've been contacted by Mr. Alvarez. He seems to want to call me on a Friday around 4 o'clock. And he has tried to get me to settle this out a number of times. And I don't think that's appropriate. I just don't think, and another thing I don't think is appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate when the city asked you, we want to come inside and see your house. And I'll tell you why. It's because nowadays on the internet, everything is out in the open. I don't want somebody to be able to know how to come in my house and go through my rooms. My wife works for one of the 3-letter agencies. She's one of the chief counsels for the DOJ. And we have a problem with that. So I don't want to be asked by this city to come in and photograph the inside of my house. That then puts my wife and my family in jeopardy. I can't even donate to a high school without having them take my name off, because then it shows where I live, okay? So I have a problem with that, so. Okay, let's go to,
Mr. Chairman, before we get started, can I just interject one thing? When the taxpayer is talking, I would really like that he would direct his comments to us instead of
fine.
the taxpayer, okay? If that would be okay.
That's fine. I will do that. Okay, Magazine Street, the state came up with a value of 406. The city came up with a value of 461. I had Ladder and Bloom do a CMA on it. They came up with a low of 305 and an average of 351. Okay. The city in 2023 had it at 325. In 2024, they raised it to 489, which was a $169,000 increase. It was up 50%. Okay. Now, none of the houses, when I went to the first meeting and I pulled up all these comps, they didn't want to hear anything. Now, when they sent me their comps, they did the same thing and sent me comps. But when I did it, it wasn't admissible. But up 50%. So my request on this property was, and this is how I came up with my number. I came up with the 2023 values, and then I went to the National Board of Realtors, and they said that property values had dropped 7.5 to 8%. So I just took that off and I came up with a 305,751. That was what my, that was 2023 minus 8%. That's what I rounded it off. I didn't go through the pennies and everything, but if you want me to go through the numbers again, that Ladder and Bloom did, the state did, I mean, y'all all have those. I've prepped all of those things for y'all. So, that's where I stand on that one. It was a 305,751.
Okay.
Let me see. The National Board of Realtors said 8.8% drop. Okay. Ladder and Bloom's minimum was 305. The average was 351. And I paid Ladder and Bloom to do this, professional company to do it, and that's what they came up with. So, do you want to go to the next house or? Okay. Okay.
New Orleans Assessor's Office?
Yes. Good morning. The property was initially valued at $489,300. It was reduced by the Board of Review to $453,300. We performed a fee simple appraisal for this property. It came in at $461,000. This is a multifamily dwelling property located in the Magazine Garden District neighborhood. All comparables employed in the sales comparison approach are within the lien date ranges. Sales comparison approach, like I said, came in at 461. That was the prayer that we submitted to the commission. Taking a look at the documentation, I didn't have any documentation to review from the taxpayer, but the tax commission staff appraisal, we think that if you took in certain situations into account, it would actually support our value as opposed to the $406,000 value. None of the comps for the subject comparison approach are in the subject neighborhood, and there's no adjustment made for location. Comp number 3 is actually a resale as per MLS number 2369597. It's a flip. Basically, they bought it and they flipped it and sold it. It says in the notes, resale, remodeled, structural changes, all major mechanical systems, HVAC renovated, cosmetic changes. But then it also gives a $42,000 an allowance for repair concessions, which seems a little odd to me. It's also 150% of the building size, yet the adjustments are 30% of the sale price. It's also the lowest comparable. If you were to take that comparable out, the value from the staff's appraisal would be much more in line with our value. If you look at the income approach, the commission's income approach states that the suggested or the rent was, and let me find it real quick, $2,400, reported to be $2,400. I took a look at MLS. MLS number 2388883 is the MLS listing for 2619. MLS number 2291868 is the list for 2621. Both have them at $1,800 a month. The descriptions say location, 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 relax on your front porch, overlooking bustling Magazine Street, marble countertops, stainless steel appliances, hardwood floors, plenty of storage, stroll to coffee shops, restaurants, and shopping. That's the listing on MLS that they use to lease out both sides. If you take the rent of $3,600, which both sides are rented for, I'm sorry, the total of both sides comes at $3,600, multiplied by the GRM that the commission staff appraiser has, it comes out to $590,400, which is substantially higher than any of the values. So you take that into consideration. We think the 461 that our fee simple appraisal is more than reasonable in lieu of these facts.
Okay. We'd like to hear from Nicole, the LTC appraiser.
Good morning, everyone. Nicole Singley, LTC appraiser. I completed a exterior site visit of the subject at 2619 Magazine Street. It is verified as a 2-family residential property with both units being occupied. Overall average condition, subject had some evidence of exterior deferred maintenance and physical deterioration. For example, front stairs are damaged, as well as areas of some stucco on the facade. Some rear sections of rear siding had obvious deterioration. A rear wood porch has evidence of discoloration, deterioration. I completed a sales comparison approach to value as well as an income approach to value. Both approaches were given equal weight and averaged them out to produce a value of $406,000. Both the assessor and my appraisal used they used none of the same sales. However, the LTC, which is my opinion of value, falls within the assessor's comparable sales, the actual price of comparable sale, as well as the adjusted price range. So with that being said, there is a difference in our opinions of value, but my opinion falls within their range. So when it comes to this, as we all know, an opinion of value is opinion of value, and there is a range, as well as the range supports it. I feel confident with the opinion that LTC has provided. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any
You're
questions
welcome.
from the commission?
I'd like to make one statement. If the city's value is accurate, then how is it at 2023 it's 325, but then in 2024 it's 489? It goes up 50% value. I mean, from an investment perspective, that would just be incredible investment. And he made the comment that I didn't provide him with information. I provided him with everything that I provided y'all, and it was a list of all the breakdowns. I had an attorney prepare it all, and they went and looked at all the comps. And Ladder and Bloom did the same exact thing. But, you know, I mean, that's all I can say about it. I mean, I don't see how if you can take their 2023 assessment, you know, as proof of value and then take the 2024. So where was the mess up? How did something go up 20% when nationally or citywide it's going down? But, and the interest rates are going up. At the time, all the title companies were saying they were doing 25% of their business at best. But for some reason, my property, my isolated property is going up 50%. It just doesn't make sense. So either his value in 23 was wrong or his value in 24 is wrong, but one of them is wrong. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Romig. I have a question for the taxpayer. So you're challenging the assessor's values in comparison to Ladder and Bloom, but it seems that the LTC staff's similar appraisals are within range, but certainly in excess of your Ladder and Bloom independent appraisal.
Right. The state came up with 406, which is considerably different from the 461. Ladder and Bloom came up with 351 as an average for sales. Okay. So, you know, as far as Miss Singley goes, I have nothing but good things to say about her. She was professional and she was in every way. So I have nothing to say about her.
Just one further question, sir. Are both sides are rentable and are rented regularly?
yes, sir. Well, I mean, yes, I go through periods, you know, sometimes when they're not rented, you know, because it does take a while to rent those. Sometimes it takes me 2 months, sometimes, but yes, on average, they're rented.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
No, sir.
If I may just for clarification purposes, 23 was a previous quadrennial. It had a different lien date of 2019. So the value, even though the value in 23 and 24 may be different substantially, it's not that it went up in 1 year. It's because it went up from 2019 to 2024. So that's maybe why the taxpayer is seeing such a large a jump. But it's not a 1-year jump, it's a 4-year jump.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to go with the LTC's appraisal value of 406,000 total. That's 162,000 for the land, 244,000 for the imp.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
The next appeal we have is the appeal of Farrell J. Chatterling versus Assessor Errol G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-74098.
Okay. It's the same thing. I prepared the same kind of numbers. He went up 78% on my taxes. The house has not changed at all. I had damage from Hurricane Ida. I had roof damage. I had detented for termites. I had Ladder and Bloom do a thing on that one as well. My Ladder and Bloom listing came between 676 to 725. The city came at 977, but then it says 1,250,000. The state came in at 941. My 2023 was 733, and my 2024 was 1,250,000. It was a $516,000 change. I mean, that's all I have to, I mean, it's insane to me. It's insane to me. I mean, my request was 676. And that was because I took the 733 and minus 8%. That's it. So, all the documentation from Ladder and Bloom and all the documentation that I prepared for the city, y'all have in y'all's files. It's just, it's incredible to me. So.
Okay, thank you. City of New Orleans?
As with the other one, just want to put it out on record. The office was not served with any exhibits provided by the taxpayer before the appeal date. We sent a letter to the commission stating as such. The tax commission's appraisal is really close to our value. We initially valued 1.25 million. It was reduced by the board of review to 1,199,200. We did a fee simple appraisal at 977,200. The commission's at 941. The only issue that we have with the commission's appraisal is that there's no comps in the subject neighborhood, once again, like the last appraisal, and there's no adjustments made. There's, in my opinion, excessive adjustments made for comp one being $410 a square foot for a 363 square foot guest cottage for a total of $149,000. Comp three had a $129,000 adjustment for a 232 square foot studio, which is $556 a square foot. We think that's a little excessive, but it's still within the range. Kind of supports our value of the 977,200.
Okay, thank you. Can we hear from Nicole, the LTC appraiser?
Hello, everyone again. So let's see what we have here. So, yes, I did inspect, property located 1128 3rd Street. Per the owner's request, special request, I did respect his request as far as, exterior only due to safety and security concerns. From the exterior, I was able to, give an overall very good condition. I didn't necessarily see anything from the exterior street view that I really could, pinpoint as far as making a condition adjustment to the overall very good condition. Let's see here. There was notes. So although the comparables used in my report are noted to be different assessment areas as far as location, knowing the city of New Orleans and the way the assessment areas are broken up, they're within extremely close proximity. I mean, 0.2 miles, 0.4. Every comparable here used, there are adjustments. Yes, I acknowledge there are adjustments. There seems to be quite a few. However, they apply. I mean, a guest cottage noted in a guest studio where adjustments applied for comps. We use the 15% adjustment. We try to apply adjustments for differences within reason, not excessively, but we do have to apply them. As far as our condition adjustment, I gave a 10% for excellent versus very good, which is standard for us. I mean, we use those types of adjustments. It's pretty uniform for when we do our appraisals on behalf of LTC. With that being said, let's see. So I did the sales comparison approach to value was the only approach that I utilized, and the approach produced the value of 941, 177,800 attributed from the undisputed land value, 763,200 towards the improvement. Both, once again, the LTC appraisal and the assessor's appraisal opinion of value falls within a similar range, and both opinions are bracketed by not only the original sale price of the comparables, but the adjusted sale price. So the opinion falls within, range. So if there's any more questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Yes, I have another, Mr. Chairman. This is directed to Mr. Russell. Mr. Russell, when you guys do inspections on properties and when you look at comparables based on the property that's in question right now, you guys never get a chance to go inside the property, am I correct?
We do not if the
Okay.
taxpayer does not allow us to.
Right, so in looking at a property, can you give a fair estimate of what that property condition is based on either photos or the testimony of the taxpayer? Is that something that's done regularly so that I can
Well-
understand basically what's taking place when you guys can't go into a property?
Well, we will try to, we take the testimony from the taxpayer with a grain of salt. They have a vested interest in reducing their value as much as they can based on condition. So we will try to look through windows. We do have a satellite aerial photography that we can implement. We try to scour the internet and see if there's any kind of permits that have been taken out. We try to do whatever we can as far as condition. There's very limited of what we can do is that we can't get inside the property. I mean, I don't think the condition necessarily is a matter of, for this particular property itself. There's not really much of a condition difference between our appraisal and a staff's appraisal. I think the only difference was that we felt that the 15% adjustment for the cottage and studio was a little excessive because it's just a standard 15%. It's not a match paired analysis where you're taking two properties that sell. The only difference is the cottage. That tells you how much a cottage is worth and what it should be worth. This is just a guesstimate based on experience. Oh, I think it's 15%. So it's not a true value. That being said, it is, yes, it is within the range. It's a $30,000 difference between our value and their value.
Thank you, Mr. Russ.
Any other questions from the commission?
I'd like to make one thing. He said he has no comps. When you take a condo or something close by with much less square footage, those usually go for a higher square footage price than a one big house. So you can't apply those square footage prices to that. Second of all, that house was renovated in 1991, 92. It's still 1991, 92 renovation. I bought that house when I was, when I just started working out of college, and I worked in that house every night. I was a single man I was a single kid at the time, and I would work in that house and do stuff little by little and everything. So that house it's still the same. Okay. But I still should not be required to have to allow the city into my house to come up with a value so that my house in the interior can now be on the internet. I won't have it. Just won't have it.
That's your prerogative,
You know
sir.
what I'm
We,
saying?
we understand that.
I mean,
That's
I
your
just-
choice. So, okay, any other questions from the commission?
Uh, Chairman Russo, I apologize. Just to clarify to give the taxpayer peace of mind, any information that we glean from the inside, either photographs or anything at all, is confidential. We do not put anything on the internet as far as interior inspections. The only thing ever put on our website is exterior, which is the same thing that we get done from Google Street View. We do respect individuals' privacy.
Thank you for clarifying.
One other comment I'd like to make is that.
Look, stop. We're not gonna go back and forth of this
Okay.
discussion. Do I have a motion from the commission?
Mr. Chair, noting that the assessor and LTC staff both assess the condition of the taxpayer's property as very good, noting that there are no common comps, but as I typically do, looking at an average of all comps. The average of all comps on LTC staff and assessor is 961,000. And noting the tight range between assessor's request and LTC's appraisal, I move to approve the assessor's request land at 177,800, improvements at 799,400 for a total of 977,200.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Okay, the next appeal we have is the appeal of FJC Enterprises versus Assessor Errol G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221771104.
Okay, this is 3425 Fern Street. This is, I have an old woman living in this house. She's a hoarder. I tried to clean it up, and I tried to kick her. She pays me $500 a month. I've tried to evict her in the past, but she begs me on her knees and cries, and I'm stuck with this woman, and I'm stuck with the house, and you know, I mean, you can see the pictures of it. It's, if I kick this woman out, she has no place to live, and I've pulled up dumpsters there and had guys go in and clean things up, and I've done the best I can do with it, but it's you know, let me see. It's in probably one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. I requested a 53.9, so that's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. City of New Orleans?
Yes, so let me pull up my form here. The property was initially valued at 72,400. The Board of Review affirmed it. The commission's appraisal was actually higher at 78,000. I called the taxpayer, asked them to withdraw the appeal to retain the Board of Review's value. The issue with this one is this property, the only difference is the land. The land has gone up from the last quadrennial to this quadrennial. The building's the same value it's been for the past few years. It was adjusted the last before that was in 2004. It had been $7,300,000 since 2004 for the land. It jumped up because it should have jumped up before, but it fell through the cracks for whatever reason. So we're actually in agreement with the commission staff appraisal.
LTC appraiser, Nicole?
Let's see here. So I personally inspected the exterior of 3425 Fern Street. The property is in fact a single-family residential property located in the assessment area of Gertown. The subject at that time of exterior inspection did not even have electric services on. It was found to be in fair to poor range and as far as condition. Features deferred maintenance in need of significant repair, physical deterioration. The roof is missing shingles. It does not appear to have a remaining economic life to that roof. There's missing and damaged sections of exterior siding. The site's full of construction debris and material, paint, et cetera, et cetera. The sales comparison approach to value was the only approach applicable that I completed, and it produced a value of $78,000, $19,800 attributed from the undisputed land, $58,200 from the improvement. 2 out of 3 of the same comparable sales were utilized in both the LTC and assessor's appraisal report. Both, once again, LTC appraisal and the assessor's appraisal opinion of value fall within similar range. Both opinions being bracketed by the adjusted price of the comparable sales.
Thank you. Questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for the taxpayer, Commissioner Romig. This is rental property for you, sir?
Yes, sir. It is a property that I bought many years ago. I don't know. I think it was sometime after Katrina. I bought it for like 20,000 or whatever, and I just did it because I wanted to, fix up that little street right there, and because we had owned property around there, and I just put this woman in there, and it's been a nightmare ever since. And it's been a
Understood.
the city assessed. The assessor's value was 72.4. The state came in at 78. I requested 53. So.
And I've lost my track, Mr. Commissioner. No further questions.
Thank you. Any additional questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Commissioner, I have a motion to take the LTC staff appraisal for 19,800 land improvements, 58,200, total of 78,000.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
The next appeal we'll take up is the appeal of Ronald J. McAleer versus Assessor Earl G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-71211.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to excuse myself at this time. I'll return.
Thank you, Mr. Rum. Go ahead and get started, sir.
We're ready? Good morning. Thank you very much for hearing me this morning. My name is Ron McAleer. I live at 1750 St. Charles Avenue. We're Unit 605. It's a condominium complex of 220 units located on St. Charles Avenue. This year, I received the notice, my tax notice, and the assessed value at the time was going to be $316,900, and was in line. We lived there for about 10 years, was in line with taxes that we've been paying for 10 years. 1 month later, for some reason, I received a supplemental tax notice raising the assessment to $483,400. Now, this building is 220 units. We have a 2-bedroom unit, which is 1,427 square feet. 118 other units in the building, average $222 a square foot assessment, 118 units. And 483,400 comes out to $339 a square foot, which I don't understand.
Thank you. New Orleans Assessor's Office?
Good morning, Commissioners. Russell Amos for the Assessor's Office. So this property is a condominium unit. It was initially valued. It was brought to our attention that we had an error. There were terraces, balconies, courtyards that are specific to certain property owners. We did not value those. Those have a intrinsic value for the property. So as part of 1966, we sent a 10-day letter noting that it was an error and omission as per the assessor's right. We revalued the entire development, sent supplemental letters to the taxpayers, allowing them 10 days to file an informal appeal with us, and then to go to the tax commission afterwards, which is their right to contest our supplemental tax roll. It's this property here. We think the 483,400 is a good value for the property. There's certain marketability advantages this property has compared to other properties. And I'd like to just note that this is unit 605, MLS listing 952269. The description in the MLS says unique condo with spectacular views from private terrace. It's a limited common element, which means that it's only for exclusive use of that property owner. No one else can use it. Those private terraces were not valued. We rectified that value with the 10-day letter. We performed a match paired analysis on it and showed that there is a 40% difference between non-terrace units and terrace units. So that is reflected in our appraisal. I'd like to have my colleague, Miss Lisa Ross. She's an appraiser for our office and a licensed realtor, and she is more familiar with the building as she does closings and listings with the building. Lisa?
Good morning. My name is Lisa Ross. As you know, I am an appraiser for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office, but I've also been a realtor since 2002. And I have sold a number of units in this building, so I'm very familiar with the building and with the type of interest that private terraces, private patios, balconies, the attention that they draw. Number one, they don't come on the market very often. A lot of times they'll get sold within the building because it's a very close-knit building. So word gets out when people are selling units. And if there's an exclusive unit that goes on, that's up for sale or about to be up for sale, a lot of times they get sold before they even hit the market. So, therefore, that shows that they're highly coveted because there are only 7 terrace units in the building out of 220. There are 6 balcony units. I don't remember how many patio units there are, a little bit more than that, but just to show out of 220, there are very few of these. When I look at the sales that have of these units, I don't have a whole lot of the terrace units that have gone on the market. But I do have a record of, there's one current owner of a terrace unit that lived on the same floor in a similar condo, but they did not have a terrace. That unit never hit the market. She purchased, or I'm assuming it's a she, they purchased before it hit the market just to go from a regular 2-bedroom to a 2-bedroom with a terrace at a significant sale price, a significant increase in sale price. As far as the terraces go, I know when I was in the building, I showed every aspect of the building. I went to the workout room, but I left the last thing was to bring my clients up to the common terrace. And the common terrace, has probably one of the best views, in my opinion, in the city of New Orleans for a condominium complex. And I can only imagine, if I were looking to purchase and had the opportunity to purchase that view for myself, I would pay a little bit more than what I would pay for a regular unit. So saying all that to say that these amenities do have an additional value over your average condominium in this building.
We'd like to hear from Luke, the LTC appraiser.
Good morning, Lou Brewer with the Louisiana Tax Commission. I performed an appraisal on 1750 St. Charles Ave, Unit 605. It was an exterior-only inspection. I was not able to get inside the unit. All 3 of my comparable sales are also in the St. Charles development. All 3 listings also describe having access to a fitness center, a fitness center and a terrace, which I assume was like the subject, because most condominium units have similar amenities. I was not aware that they had a private terrace, as I did not perform an interior inspection and able to look at the unit itself. It's likely, if it does have a private terrace, that an amenity adjustment should be made. As far as to their match pair analysis, I can't comment one way or another the validity of that. Typically, I would make a line item adjustment for an amenity and not necessarily a percentage adjustment, but sometimes I could see why that would be beneficial. But my value after adjusted out, and I do want to make note that my comparable sale too, after reviewing this before the hearing, was listed in very good condition, and I did not make a condition adjustment, and that's my fault. I'd make a 10% adjustment. It would change that comp to around 422, and my adopted value would probably be around 415. I'm sorry I missed that before. Things fall through the cracks, but I wanted to let you know that I did notice it, and that if I was given the chance, I would like to amend the appraisal. But after the adjusted comps, the range goes from 399 to 422 if I adjusted comp 2 correctly, and my opinion of value would be 415,000, which is 29,400 for the land, undisputed land value, and 370,600 for the improvements.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just to reiterate, the tax commission staff appraiser said that he did not have an adjustment made for the private terrace.
Yeah, we heard him.
Yeah, we have one at, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Understand. Any questions from the tax commission?
I do have one other thing I want to add, if I may. There's currently a unit listed. Well, that one has a balcony, but just to show that how much of a value these things add, that's listed. It's currently listed at $699. although it is a 3-bedroom unit. The taxpayer is correct in that the average condo sells for roughly 250 to 280 a square foot, whereas these ones with these great amenities are selling well into the threes per square foot.
Can I,
Thank you.
can I
Yes,
just
sir.
add something to that, please? There are, 19, excuse me, 19 units with a patio, and the average is $229 a square foot on the 19 units with a patio. They're correct, there are 6 other units on the roof which have terrace roofs. The average of those assessments are now 312, not 338 or 339, which I have. There are also, let me see, the balcony units average, there are 9 balcony units, and they average $222 a square foot. We do not own the patio or the space outside. That's number one. And number two, Mr.
Excuse me, when you say you don't own it, is it a private space just for y'all use, or is it a common?
It's limited common space. It's limited common space, correct. So if somebody else can use it, they got to go through my place to get out to it. So it's private.
So it's
And
private.
and one thing I'd like to correct, Mr. Brewer, when we talked on the phone before you came to visit, before you did the assessment, sir, we talked on the phone and I explained to you about the private terrace and the limited common space. So I don't know how,
I believe there was
but
a
no, he mentioned he
misunderstanding.
did not know it. when he didn't-
I assume what you were talking about, from my understanding, I thought it was a shared space, a common space, but like a shared terrace that other listings had as well. So when I selected my comparable sales and saw in those listings that they had a shared terrace and exercise facility all being the same unit, I assumed those were all shared amenities. I was not aware that it was a private terrace. And if you said that specifically, I do apologize that I didn't catch that.
And I also had a private assessment done on the property, and the assessed value was $415.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to accept the Orleans Parish assessment of $483,400. That's $29,400 for the land and $454,000 for the imp.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you.
The next appeal we'll take up is the appeal of Eric J. Eclasis versus Assessor Errol G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-71138. No taxpayers present, so Orleans Parish can start first.
So we have we initially valued the property $340,900. It was reduced by the board review due to damage to a porch. It was subsequently reappraised by both the assessor's office and the commission, actually came out higher. I reached out to Mr. Iglesias, told him to withdraw his appeal because the commission's appraisal and our appraisal is so much higher. He verbally said that he would. I sent him an email. There's been no response. I believe staff sent him an email as well. Has been no response.
Thank you. Can we hear from Luke, LTC appraiser?
Yes, good morning. Luke with the Louisiana Tax Commission. I appraised a property 1015 Melpomene Street in New Orleans from the exterior. Did a comparable sales analysis. After adjusting out my 3 comparable sales, which are all within 0.4 miles, the value range is 278 to 339,600. I came in at 300,000 for the market value. 36,200 in undisputed land and improvement value at 263,800. I think that the assessor's office and I are right on top of each other.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the LTC staff appraisal for 36,200 on the land, 263,800 improvements, total of 300,000.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of Harold E. Weiser versus Assessor L.G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-71182. Taxpayers not present, Orleans Parish can begin.
So the communication received from the taxpayer said that they were in an agreement with the tax commission's appraised value. The assessor's office has no comment on the matter and will abide by whatever decision the commission rules out.
Okay. LTC appraiser, Mr. Brewer?
I'm sorry, which one? I thought I was finished. I do apologize. Which appeal?
23221-71182. It was supposed to be settled, but we had some discrepancies with the settlement. So
Oh,
we had to
okay.
hear it.
Could I get a property address, please?
1110 Erodo Street, Unit 1.
Got it. Okay. I apologize. I thought I was through for the day, gentlemen. All right. I did appraise 1110 Erdo Street, Unit 1. Performed exterior only appraisal on the subject property. I had all three of my comps are in the same condominium. And after adjustments, my value range is between 218,200 to 243,000. My opinion of value is 230,000, an undisputed land value of 13,800, and an improvement value of 216,200.
Thank you. Questions
Yes,
by the
sir.
commission?
Thank you.
Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go with the parish assessor's office at 13,800 for land and 219,300 for improvements, and total of 233.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of Wesley Palas versus Assessor L.G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-72019. And please make note that the taxpayer agrees with the LTC value.
Russell?
Ready? Okay, sorry. I'm gonna hold everybody's attention. No, I'm just kidding. The assessor, the assessor's office initially valued the property at $424,100. That was affirmed by the Board of Review. We did an individual analysis of the subject, fee simple appraisal that came in at $439. We think that while supporting our value is higher than the Board of Reviews, we're asking to affirm the Board of Reviews value. Taking a look at all matters concerned with the property sold June 3rd of 20 at 439,000 in excellent condition. I'm not bringing up the sale for the actual value, just for the condition. So a couple years prior to the lien date, it sold in excellent condition. The appraisal is performed by the staff at average condition with no interior photos or contractor estimates to warrant the reduction from excellent to average. I took a look at the MLS. The MLS number 2248725, which is for the subject property, says it was updated in 2018 new roof, flooring, lighting, plumbing fixtures throughout, fresh paint indoors and out, renovated bathrooms. Leases for $2,500 a month. Per the taxpayer themselves is actually a little bit higher. The taxpayer stated that they lease it out for $2,525 a month in their appeal for the board of review. There's no interior inspection, there's no documentation to support the reduction from excellent condition to average. So that being said, we feel that the 424,100 is more than justifiable.
Thank you. Can we hear from the LTC appraiser, Sandy?
Yes, Sandy Kennedy. I did appraise the property at 6845 Louisville Street. I came out with a value of 309,100 with an undisputed land value of 193,500 and the improvement value of 115,600.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the appraised value of $424,100 total. That's $193,500 for the land, $230,600 for the imp.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Our last appeal is the appeal of D.A. Strickland versus Assessor L.G. Williams and Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-74007.
New Orleans Assessors Office?
Okay. So the property was initially valued at $518,800, which was affirmed by the Board of Review. This is a single-family dwelling in the Mid-Irish Channel neighborhood. It's, we did an analysis of the property, or fee simple appraisal of the property for this hearing, came in at $507,000, which is what we think that the property should be valued at. We think that even though it supports the Board of Review's value of $518,800, it's a little bit lower, and we think that's a little more reasonable for the value of the property. I took a look at this. This is a townhome. The property 2 doors down at 3007 Constance. The subject property is 3003. Sold for $520,000 in 2021 for $234 a square foot. In the same block as well, even though it doesn't share the same street address, 7th Street, 1012 7th Street sold for $600,000 at $270 a square foot. And 1028 7th Street sold for $538 a square foot, which is $242 a square foot. The issue that we have with the staff's appraisal and why we don't think it's as accurate as our revised appraisal is that all the comps are more than a mile away. There's nothing in the actual development. They're on the lake side of St. Charles. They're not in the riverside. This area right here is a highly desirable area of New Orleans. It is around the corner from Magazine Street, which is one of the premier shopping, dining corridors in the city. Just to give you an idea of what's located around the subject property, we have Dat Dog, Poke Loa, Big Fisherman Seafood, the Daily Beat, the Rum House. There is a Bromart right there around the corner from them, the Bulldog Tavern, the Balcony Tavern. There's a number of areas for extracurricular activities such as entertainment, shows, shopping, dining. None of that is existing at the comparable level of the tax commission staff appraisals comparables, but there's no adjustment made. So we feel if you take the adjustments for where the subject property is and what the neighboring townhomes are selling for, our revised appraisal is more than generous.
Thank you. Just want to make sure so you're saying there's no bars where the comparables are, but they have them by this. So
Well,
that's going to change it back.
There's no bars compared. Yes.
Okay, can we hear from Nicole, LTC appraiser?
Hello, Nicole, LTC appraiser. I inspected the property located at 3003 Constant Street. I completed both interior and exterior appraisal of the subject. The subject is in fact a townhome located in the Mid-Irish Channel assessment area. The subject condition, I rated at an overall average. The subject was found to be well maintained, but extremely dated inside. It has no updates. Basically, it appears to be still from 1988, with normal wear and tear, some minor, deferred maintenance present at the time of site visit. The sales comparison approach to value was the only applicable approach utilized in my analysis. It produced a value of $400,000 with $66,200 attributed from the undisputed land and $333,800 from the improvement. My research did not populate comparable sales 1 and 2 in the assessor's report because they're outside the date range criteria for appeals that we're utilizing for this quadrennial period. My research did populate comparable sale 3. I didn't utilize it because the MLS has the sales reported as fair condition, which usually is, a non-issue. I mean, you just do an condition adjustment for something like that. However, it put me in this gray area because agent MLS calling it fair, but when I open up those photos, it's very much similar to the subject. It's dated. I mean, it's once again a 1980s looking interior. So with that said, I didn't feel that was most similar or reliable for me to start throwing adjustments for a condition for this comp. However, knowing that it was used with the assessor, I took some time aside to calculate it and made some appropriate adjustments to the sale price without a condition adjustment because once again, when I'm looking at these photos, it's similar, it's dated. And it produced, an adjusted value of $467,600 if I were to have used that comp. Once again, I did not choose to use that comp. So once again, my comparables is also mentioned that they're slightly outside of, the mile radius, and they are low to no inventory. Sometimes you have to exceed out. When doing that, I do take into consideration the assessment areas and the market appeal as well. Any other questions? I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions
welcome.
from the commission? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to use a value of $450,000 total, which would be $66,200 land and $383,800 on the building.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Some of that's excruciating to watch. Oh, I know. I busted out laughing. I was glad I was on.
You're on a hot mic.
Can you guys mute your mic, please?
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted. Okay, being no more appeals and there is no other matters to come before the commission, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion? Any
Mr. Chairman, I
objection?
would just like to make a comment that Mr. Gregory is back in session with us.
You can vote on this very important motion.
I wanted to make that motion before anyone else did,
Do
but
we have any objection?
I
to the motion to
approve. No,
adjourn?
sir.
Hearing none, motion